Tell me about Choose Democracy and what have you guys been plotting over there?
Well, it's been counter plotting mostly. But I honestly will give the opposite advice about holding our breath. We have to like breathe as deeply as possible because our expectation is that this is going to be a shit show for quite a while. And the likelihood that it's a contested election in some way is almost a certainty. And so, well, first, let's just talk about why a contested election and yes, a coup we think is highly possible. First of all, he said it. You know, Trump is the first president in American history that said that he wouldn't commit to leaving office in a peaceful transfer of power. That's what most of the news focuses on, but it is significant. You know, it's not just a talking point. It's a big deal. He's also set up the predicate of discrediting mail-in ballots, and he's also enlisted Attorney General William Barr to do the same thing, which tells us that William Barr is under the direction of the Trump administration. And it's hard to imagine he wouldn't jump at the chance to stop ballots from being counted if he had the chance.
Sure.
And so, I mean, honestly, Trump tried to discredit the 2016 election and he won it. I mean, the idea he's already set everything up to create conditions in which there is chaos after it's happening. And also, just to take a step back, the likelihood that we're going to have results on election night is almost zero. The likelihood that we're going to have results a month from election night is actually pretty low, right? Because it's not just the amount of time it takes to logistically count mail-in ballots for states that are not necessarily prepared for it, but also to navigate all the kinds of legal challenges that are potentially coming because the Trump administration has been basically building legal machinery for a year anticipating this. And so we should buckle up for a complicated and bumpy ride. Mm-hmm. And in addition, I mean, just to like fully kind of lay the groundwork of our assessment, which is in terms of voter intimidation, Trump is recruiting. Not only did he say, you know, proud boys stand back, you know, stand ready or whatever, that he's recruiting poll watchers, particularly in swing states, which he's calling an army. The website is armyfortrump.com or armyfortrump.something. And so he's, of course, invoking this language of an armed confrontation. And he's also already, you know, like every time I see in his rally them chant like 8 more years. 8 more years. The incentives that he has to stay in office at all costs, whether that's to avoid prosecution, et cetera, are high, right? And so also we should mention that the Republicans have control of the Senate and have control of a huge number of state houses, especially in swing states, by huge margins because of gerrymandering, for example. And so he's told us that he's going to try this. And we do believe that I said this earlier in the show, but the more he trails in the polls, the clearer it is to their side that they're going to need to use these extra legal means. And so our expectation is that because we're getting all these warning signs, it would be foolish both not to prepare for a potential coup and also foolish for us to depend on the Democrats to handle it because they handled it so well in 2000, which we can talk about in a minute if you want.
Well, and I think I was just going to say, I think related to that, and you're talking about the machinery to set this entire thing up. You have Amy Coney Barrett, who's being rushed through, completely rushed through. And it's not even just Roe v. Wade, the ACA, or religious freedom BS that she'll be ruling on, but in the immediate, trying for a repeat of what happened in the year 2000, Bush v. Gore, and the stopping of counting of the ballots in Florida. And I didn't know this until this week, that Amy Coney Barrett and Justice Brett Kavanaugh were on Bush's legal team.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of their argument for trying to fast track her confirmation is the Republicans are saying, well, if there's a disputed election, it might go to the Supreme Court and we need another justice to break the tie. So it's their own argument that they're going to try to steal the election. And we do believe that if the 2000 election were called what it was, which was a coup, that there would have been an opportunity for us to organize. Because the thing about coups, and which I'll talk about more in a second, is that coup plotters want us to believe that we have no agency in what is actually a very fluid and chaotic situation historically in most coups. I mean, most people in the US, when they think of a coup, they think of like tanks rolling in the streets. That's not really what we're talking about at all in this situation, but it's about exploiting what is actually a pretty vague kind of set of mandates from the Constitution in order to violate democratic norms.